Hello and welcome to the Fish Out of Water podcast. You're here with me, Matheaus, Alex, and Isaac, and I'm especially excited for today's episode. We're going to be going over all the NBA trades, tons of Lakers slander.
Oh man,
It should be really, really fun, and I'll hand it over to you guys.
yeah, what a crazy trade deadline. It's crazy after all these moves, the Lakers are still the most talked about team during the deadline.
No, stop.
Bro, everyone's talking about how they didn't make a move and how much of a clown franchise they are. We are, unfortunately.
I got a little image for you here.
Oh yeah, we just came off of losing to I don't even know if they're the Portland Trailblazers. It's like I don't know the G League team, the Portland Trailblazers, but we basically just lost to the G League team. I can't name three players on that team outside of Nurkic and Anthony Simmons, and we ended up losing, of course. Yeah, we'll get into Lakers slander later. I'm willing to take it because of all the hype I put into them in the beginning of the year. Oh my God. Anyways.
Don't worry. Yeah. I remembered all of your takes. Every single one of them.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I remember them too. Okay. We can first. All right. So let's just go over the trade deadline today. That's why this podcast was delayed anyway. And man, I'm happy we waited because there's a lot to talk about. Very interesting moves. We can see the direction of each team from here. And yeah, let's get started then. Okay, first one, biggest trade in a while, actually. Nets received Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, the 2022 first round pick, and the 2027 first round pick from Philadelphia for James Harden and Paul Millsap. The Sixers received James Harden and Paul Millsap, I should say. Wow. Initial reactions.
Low key, bro. I think like from both sides, it's like kind of an L. I can't even lie, because like
an L.
Yeah, honestly, like bro, like from the Sixers, this like I don't like it for the Sixers mainly because it's like only like a 2-year window. Because after like, first of all, you depleted the roster. Number one, like they get some people off the buyout market. Now you have to extend James Harden, who's been regressing at somewhat of a rate. You're gonna have to max him out. And I heard a report where like when they signed him the max contract at age 38, he's gonna be making like $62 million a year. And like I don't know how, like especially long term, I think it's gonna be a bad contract in like 3 years. And also I'm also weary of how Harden and Embiid fit, because Embiid doesn't really play out of the pick and roll that much. And
yeah, I agree.
You know how James Harden is with the ball in his hands. So I have questions about that. And from the Nets point of view, I'm just like not a believer in Ben Simmons at this point. Like, I'm gonna be honest. Like, although what? He is this great, like he quit on his team last year in the playoffs. He sat out, wasted $25 million. And also Ben Simmons, like, is he even playable in crunch time for the Nets? Like,
no, we'll get into
I would literally foul Ben Simmons the whole fourth quarter just so Kyrie and KD don't have to touch the ball. You know what I mean? Like Ben, like it sounds all good that like, oh, there's like, oh, he's gonna bring defense. It's not gonna make the Nets like some insane defensive team. Like they were better off having Harden and just like scoring like 100 points between the three, like last year in the playoffs against the Celtics when we thought like they were like damn near the best team in the league by far. Remember that? Yeah. So I just think it's sort of a lose-lose on both ends, to be honest.
True. It's important to highlight that the big three of Brooklyn only played 16 games together, but they were 13-3 in those 16 games. So at first I was like,
ridiculous.
I don't know if this fit is good with 3 like ball dominant scorers. Well, 2 in KD, but truthfully, they won games. Like they played really well together. But as for this trade,
Yeah.
I don't actually think to start. I don't think Harden regressed. I just think Harden was taking less shots and he was trying to be more of a distributor, as opposed to what he was. And I think production wise, it didn't help the Nets as much as he thought it would, which is part of the reason he wanted out. Um, but as for the fits, I'm with Alex. Like I looked at it, I'm like, this is great. Ben Simmons can play a small ball 5 at the end of games. He can run the point between Kyrie, who's more of a 2 guard, and KD, who plays amazing off the ball. But then we do have to acknowledge that he did flake on his team. He seems to be a little bit mentally weak, and he seems to struggle in the clutch. Like those are relevant things to bring up. But on the other side, I loved the Harden move. Like I thought Harden and Embiid would be a great duo. But like Alex said, Harden loves to distribute with that pick and roll and have the ball in his hands. But Joel is like a center from the 80s, which is part of the reason I clown him so much, because you can't really play like that today. So I'm curious to see if Joel can actually flow with an offense, because that's going to be the deciding factor for them.
Yeah, and honestly, I want to talk a little bit about Harden's aggression. I know numbers don't say anything, but this year he's only averaging 22.5 points per game.
Less shots.
True shooting percentage is like about league average, I think. He's only shooting like 41% from the field. He's not shooting well, and I think when you watch him play too, it's pretty clear that his burst off the dribble is not the same. He's gone a touch slower. And on top of the foul rules, the new foul rules that the NBA implemented, it's just making Harden a less effective player in general. So I don't know. I do think there's a clear sign of regression here, and I don't know if the Sixers. The thing is with me, I'm a firm believer that Embiid will never win a championship, because I don't think his style of play is what is the most valuable asset in a center. Unless you're Jokic, I don't want my best player to be a center that is only effective in low post situations, can't defend the pick and roll, is an average rim protector, I'd say, and he can't move laterally, and is a below average shooter outside the paint. So honestly, like if you really think about it, on top of the roster, I don't know, man. Like Tyrese Maxey is nice, but to me, I don't know if he's a great player during the playoffs, because he's a undersized guard who needs the ball in his hands to score and be effective.
He doesn't shoot that well too.
Yeah. And Tobias Harris, we always have questions with him, especially with that contract. Then we got, who's the other player? Matheaus Thybulle. Okay, don't get it twisted. He's a good player, good role player, but I do think he's slightly overrated. Right. I just still think he's the best perimeter defender in the league that people keep saying he is. He's good, but I don't think he has a chance against Kevin Durant. I don't think he has a chance against Jimmy Butler in the playoffs. Yeah, I just the Sixers what they did was turn nothing into something, because Ben Simmons was literally nothing for them this season. Mm-hmm. Getting Harden it's a good move, but to me, I don't think it really pushes the needle for them as much as people may think.
Yeah, especially long term for me at least, because
I agree with the long term thing too.
Like you're paying Tobias 40. Harden's going to be making 50, and Embiid, of course, is going to be making in that 40 range. Like they can never build out that roster, unless they start hitting on these draft picks. And I just think there's better teams in the East.
I agree.
Like especially this year and long term. Although I will say this, like the Harden trade at least it gets them going. Like at least it gets them going somewhere. Like they're right. Just they were just like losing seasons of like prime Embiid,
Yeah.
like
That's
for the
true.
past 3 seasons. At least like if the off chance like Harden comes back and he's like in shape and Rockets Harden again, they'll probably be one of the favorites. I just don't think Harden's that top like 6 or 7 player anymore. Primarily due because I think his first step is just not the same, and
Yeah.
especially with this rule change. The rule changes like he cannot create offensively like he could have, and it'll be also interesting playing in a like new offense, especially like now, like Doc Rivers and Harden. Like, how are we feeling about like that sort of like combination?
Doc Rivers, very suspicious coach.
As a lifelong Clippers fan, I will say Doc
One of the
Rivers
worst
is
adjusters.
probably the worst adjuster. I mean, all of basketball head coaching. I also do think he's the most overrated coach in basketball coaching.
Yeah.
But Doc Rivers likes to run his team like he's a player's coach, but he likes to have like almost domain over the team. So like in the Lob City years, it was always him versus Chris Paul and Blake over who was like the leader of the team, and we all know how that ended. But heading forward, I have questions for it for sure. I also do think this roster is short, as you were highlighting before. There's just no money to move around, but it's an essential move they had to make. And honestly, the Sixers can catch a break without a doubt, because we saw like the Suns do it last year. They just got this crazy like luck streak. Like they're clearly not the best, but it can happen. So I mean, the Sixers put themselves in a good situation going forward. But if everyone stays healthy, I don't think they have the assets to build around their two superstars.
You guys think Embiid will win a championship one day?
I think it's possible.
Yeah.
I don't think I wouldn't like say never. Like if Embiid went, like, to be honest, like if they win the championship, Harden's like the primary guy, if we're being honest. He's like probably going to be the most important player that leads them to the championship. So I will say that though. Can Embiid lead you a championship? I don't know, but I think
numbers are gonna. Embiid always puts up numbers, but I'm telling you, this guy is so awful in the clutch. Like it's horrendous to watch sometimes because he just gets flustered. So I mean, to see this team lead,
yeah.
Oh, the Sixers have actually never been good in the clutch, so Harden has to pick up that slack.
I think a lot of like why he struggles on the clutch is because of his play style.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not saying low post scoring doesn't have any value in the NBA anymore, but let's be honest. When it's like coming down to the wire, he is a low post scorer. He can occasionally do the face up, attack a closeout, maybe shoot an occasional three, but he's not doing that in the clutch. What he's gonna do is get the ball in the post and back him down. And the thing with that, it's just so easy to game plan around. And when he's starting to think, oh my God, like I'm not scoring because I'm getting all these double teams, I just keep kicking it out and my teammates can't really do anything, he starts taking like tough shots and they don't go in.
Yeah. Right.
And I think it's just easy to attack him in defense because he's not mobile. I think he isn't this all-time sort of rim protector that people think he is. He can't move that well. And what I look for in a center is someone in a championship, for a championship type of center. I look for a guy like Bam, honestly, like mobile, can roll. Bam can pass, but they don't even have to pass. They just have to be, they have to be mobile so that they can guard the pick and roll and switch onto guards. Because I think that's more important, especially when you have elite wings and guards, which is more important than low post scoring in this league. And on top of that, you have to be able to roll, be a lob threat. For me, I wouldn't build a team with Embiid on it, because unless the team is built around him, I don't think you can win a championship with him I don't think you can win a championship with him because for him to be effective, you have to build the team around him, instead of him fitting with stars.
And like, look, I agree with you on all of that. And to be honest, I would rather have a pick and roll center in the clutch than Embiid. Like I'll give you an example of a player who I don't really like, DeAndre Ayton. Last year, he was amazing in the clutch, but he wasn't doing anything except running the pick with Chris Paul. And it worked out the entire whole Western Conference playoff run. And it's more effective to like flow in an offense like that.
I kind of disagree to some extent. I think
I don't like it either.
I think Embiid's fine in the clutch. I think the main issue is these past couple of years with the Sixers, especially in like crunch time and playoff games, the game becomes so half court, and you need guys that can score in the half court, and they haven't had that. The one year they did have that to some degree was Jimmy Butler, and they were fine late in games. But so
that
like
team should have won the chip if Kawhi didn't hit that shot.
Yeah, exactly. So like if they're relying on Tobias Harris, if they're relying on Tobias Harris as their like go-to guy in the clutch, like that's the issue. But now with James Harden, I think Embiid will be fine late in games. Like I don't really see that as a serious issue. Like Ayton was great because like CP3 and Book are like great.
Yeah, that's fair.
They're great. They're great late in games because they're both half-court creators.
But that's what I'm saying is because like,
but dude, no, go ahead, Matt.
Sorry, DeAndre Ayton works with those two guards. Like he knows how to play with them. I'm not sure late in games if Embiid is going to be able to play with Harden like together. I mean, they can ISO score on their own, which is fine sometimes, but I just worry about them actually when it matters most. I think Harden's going to have to be the one to make those shots.
100%, but you realize late in games that like these past couple years, the focus has been primarily on Embiid, which is why he struggles late in games. I think now with Harden there, it will open a lot more. Exactly. So I actually don't think it's that big of an issue.
Also, Ben Simmons hurt their floor spacing a lot late in games. Tobias Harris would be the floor spacer. Like,
let's talk about Ben Simmons now. And the Nets. So, they got Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Drummond. How do we feel, guys?
Oh, Lakers fan, you want to talk about Drummond?
Oh my God!
You remember when this guy was like a top center in the league?
He was never a top center in the league.
He was never a top center.
He was just extremely overrated.
Bro, Andre Drummond is always a bum.
Media was freaking out over the 20 rebounds and all that stuff.
Come on, bro. He was rebounding all of Reggie Jackson's misses, bro. Are we serious? Andre Drummond is not good.
Hey, you see what Reggie did to the Lakers, though?
What? Why did everything go back to the Lakers?
Cooked them. You see him split that double?
Everything go back to the Lakers, bro. Oh no,
Clippers fans got to get every W over the Lakers fans. They try to do. Clippers need every W over the Lakers.
It's all we got, man. 29-7. I memorized it. Don't worry,
bro.
You want to know what that is? It's our record the last 10 years.
Okay, cool, bro. We'll go into Westbrook later. I can't stand this guy. He was like the primary reason for.
No. Let's hear it.
No. We're gonna talk about Simmons.
No, Ben Simmons.
And we'll talk about the Lakers at the end. This guy just wants. Okay, so we see this roster now. To be honest, I think this is a dub for the Nets because if you think about it, Harden was going to leave this summer, and with not much leverage, you're able to still get a guy like Ben Simmons. He's kind of a mystery still because of there's a lot of questions regarding his mental health, him playing in the clutch, and other things. But still, I think getting a guy like Ben Simmons, especially because his contract it's going to be like 3 or 4 more years left on it. So you're guaranteed to have him. And on top of that, getting Seth Curry and the 2 first-round picks for a guy who's going to leave in the summer and was regressing, and Ben Simmons sort of fits like what they need right now. I just think it's a good move, in every way imaginable.
I somewhat disagree with that. The main issue is like, I think last year with Harden, with Harden, Kyrie, and KD, I think it was especially the series against the Celtics. I saw a team that was like the clear title favorites.
But the issue is Harden was going to leave anyway.
Yeah, I know. I understand that. And I would have honestly tried to keep Harden because, I thought if Harden, if everything worked out I think they would have been the title favorites easily, to be honest. And what this goes back, I also want to ask, like, that like if we're saying this trade's a dub, then honestly the Nets should have just kept the same core before the Harden trade. You know what I mean? That's why I say it's like kind of an L, you know, because they would still have Dinwiddie, they would still have LeVert, they would still have Allen, and they would still have the 5 picks they gave up. So it's like Ben Simmons, I hate to say this, but it's kind of a bad contract. Like you're paying
I could understand
damn near
that.
max money. Yeah, you're paying damn near max money for 4 years for a guy who's not fully in it.
Is
And
it 180? 4 years, 180?
yeah,
5
something
years,
like
170.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And
But
I just don't know about Ben Simmons. Like, it's tough. It's hard for me to believe in Ben Simmons just what I've seen the past 2 years. You know.
I mean, I actually think there's questions. There's definitely questions, but Ben Simmons, in my opinion, needed a fresh start. I think he was a young player who a lot of people expected a lot from him, especially when you're playing with like Doc and Embiid, and you kind of have, Sixers fans are pretty passionate. I think he just really lost his touch, and he got to a point in his career where he said, I need to move on. I think this is the perfect place for him because the Nets are kind of the villains of the league. Like KD he's set up as the villain in their script. Like Kyrie too, you add Ben Simmons there. Nash is a very hands-off coach, and play-wise, I love the possibilities. You can have Ben at the point guard as his big perimeter defender. You can put him small ball 5 at the end, where you bring out like Patty Mills, Joe Harris, even Steph Curry if you wanted to go really small. So I love the possible combinations. There is questions, but I do think Ben Simmons is a talent, and I think he will do well with the Nets. Like I do think so.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. He fills in what they need, and they're missing a defensive anchor, a guy who can really get this team together defensively. About the big three being, historically good, potentially. It's just, if Harden was going to leave anyway, getting to fill out a need that you have on the team, which is defense and versatility, because I feel like they have a lot of small guards and immobile big men on this team more than like wings.
Mm-hmm.
I just think getting Ben Simmons was a great move. And the bad contract thing, it's possible that it's a bad contract. It depends on how good he is. He really is. But at the end of the day, you're getting like a 16 point per game score who's averaging like damn near triple double and winning scenarios and playing is probably like a top 3 defender in the league at his peak, And I don't know, when you think of like him playing next to Kevin Durant, like you're talking about like 2 guys who are 7 feet tall that move like guards, and I don't know if Kevin Durant is going to be too invested on the defensive end, but it's going to be hard to score on them with that kind of length, and then when you can add in guys like, I don't know, Kessler, Edwards, shout out Pepperdine. And then if you like Bruce Brown, it's just like, you can do a lot with this kind of, you can do a lot with the team now just because of the versatility that Ben Simmons adds. Great move. Seth Curry, another undersized shooter that they have, but it helps. It helps. Yeah,
because I know very well that KD can rim protect better than most people think, and we know what Ben Simmons can do defensively. Like, it's gonna be a fun matchup. Anyways, you want to move on to the next trade?
Yeah. Wow, we spent a lot of time on that one. Okay, we'll go with the controversial one here. So the Sacramento Kings, they sent Tyrese Halliburton, Buddy Hield, and Tristan Thompson for the Pacers, Domantas Sabonis, Jeremy Lamb, Justin Holiday, and a 2nd-round pick in 2027. Wow, this was a shocker here. I mean, people have said it already, and I sort of agree. I don't think the Kings should have made this trade. They're clearly not they're kind of directionless right now. And, when you're not really good and not necessarily the worst team in the NBA, I think the best thing to do is for sure keeping your young guys and keeping a guy who loves the Sacramento Kings. You know, I've never heard of anyone who loves the Sacramento Kings, but for some reason Tyrese Halliburton really loves them. Even in draft day, he really wanted to go to Sacramento for some reason, and it's a bad look. You know, it's a bad look, and I understand you get a guy like Sabonis back. Is he good enough for you to trade a guy like Tyrese Halliburton, who is set to be one of the cornerstones of the franchise? It's debatable to say, you know, if he could be like the guy, you know, and I think that's a fair question. But in terms of culture, how the organization looks, and how good Halliburton is too, you know, getting Sabonis to me was a little like, are we really like trying to do win now moves? You know, is it the right thing to do? I don't know. Personally, if they were too concerned with the guard, you know, with the amount of guards that they have, I would have took it to the offseason. Trade De'Aaron's contract's awful. Trade De'Aaron Fox's awful contract, and hopefully get some pieces back for that. But, you know, they made the move for Sabonis. We'll see how it goes. From the Kings side, I just can't get myself to agree with what they did personally.
Yeah. I mean, I think the Kings won the trade, but I don't think it's the degree that everyone else thinks. I mean, Halliburton's a really nice player, but he's not like, I wouldn't consider him untouchable. I wish they got more for him. Like, but the issue, I think I get where the Kings are coming from though. Like the Kings are always like this, like let's be honest, they're a bum franchise. Like they've drafted 3 point guards in a row. Like, are we serious? They've drafted 3 point guards in a row and then took Bagley over. And then the one time they didn't draft a point guard, they took Bagley over Doncic. Like the Kings are full of like retards. Like we've been known this. But I see what they're trying to do. Like they're trying to make a push for that. They're trying to make a push for the playing game. Like, you know, so like to be fair, Sabonis does fit with De'Aaron Fox.
I think so.
Especially in pick and roll situations.
Sure.
So this team can kind of make a run at the play-in, so I kind of get it. But like Isaac said, I probably would have gotten off De'Aaron Fox, but I don't know many teams that would take De'Aaron Fox's contract. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, he's still like a 23-year-old, you know, and there's still like room for him to grow.
Yeah, but it's also 35 million a year for the next 5 years. Like, for someone who probably will never be an all-star, I'd say. Like, not even like I don't think he'll ever be an all-star, you know.
Well,
so
he can.
Yeah, we'll see.
In the West, with all these young guards in the West, no shot. You know.
Well, I think he's 23.
Fair. Yeah, that's fair.
He could have a miracle year. You never know.
Yeah.
But there's definitely some young teams who would take him on.
Yeah. But I do like the reason why I don't think it's that bad is mainly because I love Sabonis. I think he's ridiculously underrated.
I'm with you there.
Dude, they also gave up Buddy Hield though.
Okay, come on. Buddy Hield, that's kind of a bad contract. Like,
yeah, and Buddy Hield's kind of peaked too.
I don't think he's I mean, he's a guy who shoots 10 threes a game, you know. I still think he has value, and you could have gotten more.
He has value, but not at what, 20 plus million a year?
He's also 29. Like,
yeah, he's sneaky old. Like,
yeah.
So
wait, it's 29?
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
That's what I mean. He's kind of like, he is what he is. You know?
Yeah, like, let's be honest. Jeremy Lamb is like not that bad of a. He's not bad. Like he's not a bad player. And as for like the Pacers, like I kind of like where the Pacers are heading. I mean,
yeah, I
you get like I wonder what they can get for Brogdon in the offseason, because I'm assuming they're going to trade him now, because I would really try to like develop this backcourt of Duarte and Halliburton. Like I think they can be like a formidable two-man punch in the East. I would also try to get rid of Miles Turner. The reason why I think Sabonis is so underrated is because Miles Turner's been holding, like, they're running this two big lineup has been holding Sabonis back for like a while. Like I don't know what the Pacers have been doing. Like that's why like Sabonis, like I think is gonna like low-key break out with the Kings like this next like these next couple weeks or months, because Miles Turner has been holding Sabonis back like a lot. So
I like Miles Turner too. I just don't think it was a good fit.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Good bigs. Yeah. Do you guys think the Kings got better though? Including the 4-team trade, like, because I personally like their roster more now.
I think it's a better team right now.
It's marginally better to me. You know, I just
age though. I feel like they kind of have a bunch of like middle-aged guards now.
Yeah, and at best they'll be a playing tournament type of team for the next couple of years. You know, is it worth giving up Halliburton? That's my question. You know, for that.
The Kings, it's the Kings, so it's like I don't think it's that bad of a move. I mean, like let's hope, like if Davion Mitchell can develop, like this can be like a solid team.
They hit on Davion.
Yeah.
He's good.
He is good, but you're talking about playing two undersized guards, and we know the upside of that. You know, even with a guy like Dame and how good CJ is, they could never really reach a ceiling because of.
But Davion actually like is not like has elite defensive potential, and like
on guards, but
they're not liabilities defensively like Dame and CJ
That's
are.
True.
So
That's true.
You know,
That's true.
I don't mind. I actually don't mind this team. Like I actually think this is like low-key kind of a solid team with those three as their pieces, because like Sabonis is actually like sneaky young. He's like 25. So I wouldn't say it's the worst trade in the world, but preferably I would have kept Halliburton and probably get rid of Fox. But I don't think it's as bad as everyone else makes it, you know.
Yeah, that would have been nice to have Halliburton develop with Davion, and if you can bring on Sabonis, I like that move better. But
yeah, I just don't think the Pacers would have done that.
They wouldn't have wanted the contract.
Yeah, facts.
So with that, since we're talking about CJ, you want to move on to the Pelicans trade?
Yeah. Pelicans trade Josh Hart, Tomas Satoransky, the GOAT, Nikhil Alexander-Walker, Didi Luzada. That's someone in the NBA.
The
protected first round pick in 2022 and 2 second rounders and the Blazers traded CJ McCollum, Larry Nance Jr., and Tony Snell. Interesting. CJ's finally moved.
That was a shock.
Man, yeah, I feel like CJ rumors have been going on for so long, and for him to be traded to the Pelicans.
Yeah, I mean, I slandered this on TikTok, and I'll do it again. I really think it's just a useless trade for both teams. And what I mean by that is it's not that it's like really that useless, but just the fact that I really don't think any move was that cool to me. Like CJ's great. Like I've always thought he was a little bit underrated, but I don't think the Pelicans are scaring anyone after this move. Like, is anyone really looking at the Pelicans and being like, oh no, like here come the Pelicans? Like maybe the Kings are. They're worried about getting the 10 seed together. Like, all right, you can race for it, but that's on the other end of it. I look at the Blazers, like they're trying to rebuild here, and they just take on a bunch of assets and a protected first round and a couple second rounders that aren't even guaranteed. Like it just feels random to me. I wasn't excited about anything.
I agree.
I just think the Pelicans are just total clowns. Like David Griffin. You
remember when David Griffin was praised as like the greatest GM in the league? Like everyone was talking about like
he's made so many bad
Zion and Lonzo.
Like this trade makes him better, but like let's not act like they gave up on Drew Holiday and Lonzo Ball like in back-to-back off seasons. And you know,
they screwed up the Anthony Davis trade for sure.
If they had about what they got back. Yeah, if imagine like their team, like they basically like if their team right now was what Lonzo, Drew Holiday, Ingram, Zion, and Valanciunas, you'd be like, oh, that team's way better than this squad they have right now,
which playoff roster.
Yeah, and now like they have a bunch of guys that can't defend. Like, are we serious? This might be the worst defensive team in history. Devontae Graham, CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram, Zion, and Valanciunas. Are we serious? Like, like,
Wait, don't even
dude.
include Zion. He's not even gonna play. Like,
yeah. So it's like
Dude needs
come
to
on,
lose
like,
he's
weight.
not even gonna play. Yeah, dude. Like the Kings, I think the Pelicans get marginally better here. It's important to get guys like CJ McCollum who can create off the dribble for you and be a secondary playmaker. But the thing is, he's a secondary playmaker. He can't be your best, ball handler, and so can't Ingram.
But
But
they need a star.
yeah, and at this point, Zion's situation is so interesting because his extensions, he's extension eligible in this summer, I think, or even now. And honestly, like, are you willing to pay this guy like $200 million?
You have to. You have to.
He's
he's the number 1 overall pick from one of the most loaded drafts. Well, at least that's what we're saying.
He's talented, but dude, it's a bad contract if he gets paid this extension. Either way,
play. It's bad.
Also, like, Pelicans are never going to get anyone, so it's like you might as well pay Zion. You know what I mean?
But I mean,
yeah,
does Zion want to get paid by the Pelicans? There was a little bit of stuff this offseason. Like David Griffin plays in the piano, and like his family gets mad. Like
the Pelicans are awful. If you think about what they got back for Anthony Davis, it's almost like nothing. It's Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, and like they traded away Lonzo for like Satoransky and a 2nd-round pick, and that's what they got. And they screwed up with all the Lakers picks. They drafted Jackson Hayes. They drafted Kira Lewis. Like, I don't know what they're doing, man. They can't draft. They can't get free agents. They don't have any assets. And they traded for Steven Adams on top of that with next to Zion. I don't know what they're doing here, and makes them marginally better. It puts them in the conversation with the Kings to make the play-in tournament, I guess. Very cool.
Quick question. Do you guys think Zion will be a superstar in this league?
I'm going to rule it out, but
I wouldn't rule it out either, but it's kind of tough.
But like, I'm starting to question, does Zion even really like basketball like that? Like, dude, you can't stay in shape. You're like 20 years old, bro. Like,
his knees are giving out and he's 20 years old. Like, he needs to lose weight.
Like, go on a diet. Like, you're in the NBA. You're in the NBA.
Yeah, bro, he needs to cut, bro.
You can't be jumping that high with 300 pounds. I don't care. He's not 260.
Exactly.
First of all. He is not 260.
No, he's like 315, 320, bro.
For real. Like, his knees are giving out they were giving out at 19. Like Zion really needs to settle down. He needs to get a private chef, take care of his body, follow a little bit of that LeBron, Brady, Russell Westbrook. Oh my God, Russell Wilson.
Oh please don't mention that name here.
Bro.
Don't say that.
He doesn't need to do that. He just needs to stop eating. Like, you know what I mean? Like, bro, like, I don't understand. You're an athlete. How can you like? I don't understand. Like, the Zion weight issue has been an issue for 3 years. Like, how many is he ever really gonna get a reality check? No shit, you're out like 40 games a year because you're 300 pounds. You're like 6'5". Like get like, you know what I mean? Like,
dude, this guy.
He has all the talent in the world. He has all the talent in the world. Like, and he's just wasting it. Like, I just question if he loves basketball because also like, he's regressing as an athlete since he's been in high school. Like, progressively, he's getting less athletic, and he still hasn't developed a bag. He still has that like Siakam no bag. Like,
no, I disagree. I think he's actually kind of skilled. Yeah, does have some skill downhill.
He has some, but like people were saying this guy's
he's not Siakam.
Like, they were expecting him to come in, learn to dribble. Like, he has a decent shot, but
I disagree. I think people wanted him because of how athletic he is more than like his skill set, And
he plays like a 4. I thought he should be more like a 3 guard and be more versatile, but I feel like he lacks versatility.
I have no idea what Zion is at this point. He's like a 6'5" center who can jump out the building, but he can't. I don't know. He's such an interesting player. I don't think we've ever seen anything like Zion, to be honest.
Oh my goodness, man! Please clip that. All right.
Yeah, don't
We
worry.
can move on to the next one.
Wait, real quick. I just want to touch on the Blazers here.
Oh yeah.
Blazers, what are you guys doing? This is just like, are you serious? You're doing this again where you give up nothing. You just did this like a week ago where you gave up Covington and Norman Powell for like nothing. You got back Eric Bledsoe. Are you serious?
I'll have fun with that contract.
Okay, well, you got back Josh Hart, who's a good player, and that's it. And you gave away Larry Nance too. On top of that, I don't know how like Dame signed off on this. I don't know how this convinces Dame to come back at all. This is the Blazers being the Blazers again, having no direction. They're banking on this. Okay, the thing is, they're trying to bank on this offseason when there's no offseason free agents available. So I don't understand what they're doing here. I really don't. And they're like the flexibility doesn't matter because no one's going to Portland anyway. But on top of that, if there's no free agents to begin with, why are you trying to make cap space right now and trading away your valuable assets for dirt, instead of banking on trading for a disgruntled superstar? So honestly, Dame says he wants to be in Portland. I think that's complete cap. I don't know what they're thinking here. This is just another Blazers move where it shows how dysfunctional this franchise is and how directionless they are. They drive me crazy. They're basically the Packers of basketball. Never trying to win.
No one.
Worse, much worse.
No, Packers are worse.
Okay, but my point being is their direction. They never go in. They never go all in for anything. They're just always going to be known as the guys who occasionally made the second round. And when you have Damian Lillard, that's disgraceful. So,
well, I will say though, don't you think they should have gotten off McCollum right now? Because honestly, you tank this year, get a good draft pick, and like you try to.
You're telling me this is what this? You're telling me, dude. I'm not. If my number one priority right now is to convince Dame to stay, I'm not convincing him by saying let's rebuild right now, and trading away his number two guy for
we have a year, because Dame's not going to play this year. And I guess rumor has it that Portland wants to rebuild around Dame and Simmons. It's kind of interesting.
I don't think
that's dumb. If they really want to win a championship, they would trade Simmons, and they're not going to do that because of the Blazers.
Look, you can realistically rebuild this roster in the offseason. If they land like a top 3 pick, the third pick, and Simmons is a decent asset, you can throw a bunch of draft picks, land a disgruntled star, and then rebuild the rest of the roster in the offseason with role players. Like I think you can rebuild it somewhat. Like it's not like out of the question. You know what I mean? Like I prefer this than just keeping McCollum and doing the same thing for like the 50th year.
I would have traded McCollum too, and Norman Powell and Robert Covington, but just the return is just not good. And to me, this is a rebuild type of move. And they have to turn it around in one offseason, and that's hard to do.
I will say
with the lack of free agents.
I will say Portland has pieces now, but I think they definitely could have rebuilt better because like the roster wasn't that bad on paper when you really think about it. Because you were running Dame, CJ, and then Norman, Covington with Nurkic. Like it sounds good, but these guys were worth more than what they were given up for. And ever since, I forget the name, but ever since the owner of the Seahawks and the Trailblazers passed away, both franchises have been a complete clown show, starting with the Jamal Adams trade. And then, I just feel like both franchises have no direction. Like they don't know what they're doing. And like, I look at Portland, like this trade right here, we'll get to next, but that was the start of it. And honestly, this one wasn't that bad in my opinion. Cause like Alex said, they moved off CJ, but I'm kind of with Isaac. I don't think Portland actually has any direction. Like I don't think their front office has a plan. I really don't.
Yeah. I think there is somewhat. Like I think they could retool this in one offseason. I'm not gonna lie. Like I'm just gonna throw this scenario out. What if they get a top 3 pick? With a top 3 pick, I think that's good enough to, maybe send an offer for like a Bradley Beal. You get Bradley Beal with some of the young guys and your high draft pick and future picks, you can snag a secondary star next to Lillard. And then with all the cap space you open up, you can now sign solid role players in free agency, and you can sort of retool this roster. Is this going to happen with the Trailblazers track record? I don't think so, but it's a possibility that I think is, it's possible. I wouldn't say it's like, this is like a dead end for the Blazers at least.
That's a good point. Moving CJ does open up books.
Yeah, but my point is, what's the only disgruntled superstar there is really Bradley Beal. And are you telling me Bradley Beal is that much of a needle mover where they're not the same second round exit team?
I'd love to talk about Bradley Beal, man. But
Yeah.
no,
are they really that much better?
It's better than what they had now because they're a late playoff seed. I mean, if you get Beal and some valuable assets, at least you're bringing in like revenue. Your team will perform better. I think they can get into that 5-ish, 6-ish seed range in the West. But
it's the same thing then, and
yeah,
I don't think that's enough to convince Dame to stay. If I'm Dame, I'm getting the hell out of there.
I don't think Beal is that much better than CJ McCollum either. So
I think there's somewhat of a gap between.
There's a pretty big gap, to be honest.
Yeah,
there's a big gap, but it's not as big as people think. Because I've never been a big Beal fan. I like him as a person, but all this guy does is score. I question how much he can affect winning.
I disagree. I think Beal can be very effective off the ball as a playmaker, but that's beside the point. We'll talk about Beal later, but let's go on to his team. Originally, I think we're going to talk about Karis LeVert, but honestly, that trade was pretty fair on both sides. I think what's more interesting is the Kristaps Porzingis trade. The Mavericks sent Kristaps and a second-round pick for the Wizards, Spencer Dinwiddie and Davis Bertans. What an interesting trade. Everyone here are on bad contracts, and the idea of them is better than the actual product.
Well, I could see the Mavs making a big move this offseason after getting off Kristaps' contract. I know that they're going to want to pair Luka with someone. But Wizards-wise, I just feel like the Wizards have always been that team that the Wizards and the Rockets, they just seem to take the contracts nobody wants, and it's kind of confusing to me. So, great. Now you have Kristaps long-term, and okay. I don't know. I'm kind of tired of it. I wish they would maybe do something a little splashier, similar to what the Kings are doing right now, but yeah.
I think they're just trying to rebuild at this point. We might get into it later.
On his contract,
yeah, but are we not? I think this is kind of a disastrous trade for the Mavericks because, they took in Davis Bertans' contract. That's one of the worst contracts in the league for someone who really does literally nothing. He can't shoot anymore, and that's literally all he got his money because he can shoot. So, if you told me it was Dinwiddie and let's say Montrezl Harrell for Porzingis, I'd be like, okay, that's not bad. But to get Bertans back, I think that's kind of an L for the Mavs.
Yeah, he's making 16 a year, and he's not a free agent until 2025.
Yeah, so
it's a long time.
I don't know about this trade for the Mavs, and this Dinwiddie trade means that they're probably going to let Brunson walk in the offseason. So again, this is just another lateral move for the Mavs, and it's not looking good for Luka these next couple of years finding, building out this championship roster. I think it's not I don't have a problem with getting off Porzingis. It's just what's the direction for the Mavs? It's just
I think they're going to go all in for a second star. I can almost guarantee it. I know Mark Cuban loves Luka. He's going to want to get someone for Luka.
Honestly, I think I think the team is just better when Porzingis is off the floor, and the idea of Porzingis is what he was in New York, and he's clearly not the same player at this point. But I think what they're banking on is the idea of what Spencer Dinwiddie and Davis Bertans is supposed to be. They're just hoping that Bertans to be this elite tall shooter who can move off the ball effectively. Dinwiddie to be a secondary guard next to Luka. We'll see what they do with Brunson. But I don't know. I actually like the move more. Porzingis, there's a ceiling. I don't think Luka and Porzingis was a real dynamic duo, to be honest. It wasn't like a 2-star thing, and he was getting paid like one. I don't know. I think it's better to move him because the team is better without Porzingis, in my opinion. Because Luka is a heliocentric type of player, like Harden and Trae Young, and he needs the ball in his hands.
Don't you think Porzingis should have been a good fit with Luka? Like, it just makes sense. A pick and roll, pick and pop, kind of.
He's not good at those. He can't move.
He's straight up. He's not a good shooter. Like
he's not a good shooter. Like 35 feet every time.
He shoots like logo threes. Like when he just pulls up.
He's low key not a good shooter. Like
he can't move either off the roll.
Yeah, I mean he's he's like a decent rim protector, I guess. But
decent. But
he can't move. With guards. That's his issue. And they're playing him a power forward, so he's like switched onto wings a lot of the time. And just makes it worse.
Regardless, he's just not worth the money.
No. Not. But I think I like the move by the Mavs. I think this gives them a higher ceiling. If Dinwiddie can be like 60% of what he was, 70, 80% of what he was before his ACL injury, I think it's a good move. And if Bertans can learn how to shoot again, either way, that's a terrible contract. But I think it's a good idea. It's the type of players you want around Luka. Rather than Porzingis,
Yeah, but again, I still see the same issue where you're relying on Luka to create 80 to 90% of your offense.
Thing is, that's when Luka is the most effective, And on top of that, you got guys like Brunson and Dinwiddie who are guards who can create, but can also play off the ball. So I think it's a good move overall. It's a good fit. Helps Luka out a little bit, I'd say.
I just don't love where the Mavs are going, to be honest. You're paying a lot of guys a lot of money but they're not really game changers. Like Hardaway's making all that money. Brunson's if you're gonna re-up him, he's making all that money. Bertans is making a lot of money. Dinwiddie's making a lot of money, and that's the roster you get for like damn near like all your salary cap is allocated to those players. It's like Luka was on a rookie deal. You should have maximized you're getting arguably for sure a top 10 player, arguably top 5 player at $8 million. In those 5 years, you're supposed to maximize and build that roster out with elite talent. Like they should went after like someone like a DeRozan this offseason, which they didn't. And that's the issue I have.
I think they did. They did.
Yeah.
They went for Porzingis. That was a star. And didn't
That's
really
what they
out.
thought, at least. We all thought that too.
Exactly.
But I should have realized it was a miss.
Because Luka was ready. Like he played pro since he was young. Like Luka's polished. You could have utilized that rookie contract better than any rookie coming out of the States. Because like everyone else kind of needed time, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah. Interesting trade. Okay. Now let's see. Okay. Should we go into the 4-team trade or should we go into the Celtics getting Derek White for 2 first-round picks? God damn.
Is it 2 or 1?
It's a first-round pick in 2022 and swap rights on a 2028 first-round pick.
You know what? Let's do some Celtics. I'd love me some Celtics slander because these guys haven't done any
Celtics. Not just because I'm a Lakers fan, but they don't know how to run a franchise either. Okay.
How do they still not have like a competent center? Like,
no, they got Daniel Tyson now. They got Daniel Tyson now.
Dude's 6'9" and has the hops of like.
He's like 6'7", bro.
Hey, they traded for Bobo. You know what I mean?
6'7".
Celtics are
got
back.
traded too.
Celtics
Bobo got traded.
Whoa, they can rim protect now.
Bobo got traded to the Magic.
And no.
Oh yeah.
Hey. to the Celtics, man. No, I'll air out the Celtics like straight from the jump. Like you're telling me all them years when they had all them picks that they wasted for guys like Romeo Langford, guys
Aaron
like
Neesmith. Aaron
yeah,
Neesmith.
Aaron
Oh, your
Neesmith. They
favorite
could have
player.
traded
So bad.
They could have
bro.
traded all these picks to build out that roster, and now all they want to they give them a first for Derek White. Stop. Like this team sucks. Like 4 years ago, they had like 3 All-Stars: Kyrie Irving, Tatum, Brown. The like 4 years ago, it looked like the Celtics were going to run the East for like the next 5 years. Now you get this roster. Are we serious? Derek White, Marcus Smart, Tatum, Brown, and Tice, and like you're out of assets. Are we serious? Like this has been a total disaster by the Celtics.
It
like,
really has.
They really did.
So like
mismanage
the
it,
only
bro.
thing, the only thing that makes like the Celtics like a contender is like, what if we're all wrong about Bobo and he's like the next Wilt? Like you never know. I mean, like,
Bro,
that's the only
Bobo's
thing,
not
like,
even
saying-
on the team anymore. He's on the Magic.
wait, what? I thought Bobo was on Celtics.
He got traded.
No, he got traded.
He got
Yeah.
traded for
Oh.
like cash considerations or something.
Bro, what are the
I mean,
Magic
that's
doing
even
right now?
more. Like he was useless in the first place, but now they're more useless. No, I'm with Alex. You had all these picks for this long, and you did nothing. Like you were so stingy, and then all of a sudden you just give them up for Derek White. Like it makes no sense to me, and I feel bad for Celtics fans who are trying to justify this for themselves. But ever since, honestly, Danny Ainge as GM has been a disaster. Like I don't know what they're doing, and to be honest, like I've been saying for probably 4 years now, go get a center, go get a center, go get a center, get a real center.
They
And
got
then they
Al
get
Horford.
one who had a good year, Al Horford, and then they trade him. And then you're stuck with a 6'7" Daniel Tice. Like, great. Had nice rim protection. And I don't get it. I don't understand what they're doing.
We can go on and on about how bad the Celtics draft outside of Tatum and Brown, but then again, those guys are like top prospects.
I also think Tatum is a little bit overrated
No
compared
doubt,
to the other youngsters.
he is overrated for sure. Yeah, Celtics messed it up again, and of course they traded. They gave up a swap rights on 2028 first round pick. Like who knows what'll happen then? You know, what if Tatum and Brown leave by then? They're trash, and they risked it all on Derek White. And dude, Derek White isn't good, bro. Like, wasn't he injured? Like, or something? I don't know. I thought he came back from an injury, but he's just not good.
Bad. He's just a random asset to throw a bunch of picks for.
He's not a needle mover.
No.
You know, he's just like a slightly above average starting point guard in the NBA. I don't know.
They might have the worst bench in the league. Like,
I know. I don't know why they traded Schroeder for. Like, is there really a difference between Schroeder and Derek White? You know, Schroeder at 5.9 mil. Yeah, I don't know. Derek White's on a bad contract too. On top of that. Okay, if that's all you have to say about that, we could talk about the 4-team trade.
just rip the Celtics and move on.
Yeah. Okay, the Bucks receive Serge Ibaka in this trade, two second-round picks. The Kings receive Dante DiVincenzo, Trey Lyles, and Josh Jackson. And the Clippers receive Rodney Hood and Semi Ojeleye. By the way, this is another Celtics bust, Semi Ojeleye. Oh my God. And the Pistons receive Marvin
Can I
Bagley.
start this real quick? I just gotta say, as a Clippers fan, I was so happy to see us get Norman Powell and a Covington for a bag of chips. But then, like, we just gave away Serge for, like, what? More chips and some juice? It makes no sense to me. Like, I don't even think it helped our books at all, like our contract. And Serge's contract's over by the end of the year. Like, I guess we love Rodney Hood or something. Anyways.
Yeah, I think the most interesting thing is Marvin Bagley's finally moved off the Kings curse, the curse of the Kings, whatever you want to say, that awful franchise. And, you know, you can debate if the Pistons are much better, but I think it's good for him to get a new start. I know he hasn't looked good in his first 4 years in the league, and he looks like a bust because, you know, at the end of the day, Luka Doncic was taken right after him. But look, I still think he's got talent. He moves like a guard. he's capable of playing the wing, unique skill set. I think he could still be a good player in the league, you know. And I think the Pistons gave up Trey Lyles and Josh Jackson for him, you know. So I think it was a good move by the Pistons getting Marvin Bagley.
Yeah, but you have to pay him soon, so it's like also that, you know.
But you're not giving like you're really sweating over Trey Lyles and Josh Jackson, you know.
True.
And the Kings receiving DiVincenzo is kind of interesting too. Just a good role guy, I guess.
Yeah.
That's about it. I don't know. Bucks getting Ibaka. Why do they like not run Giannis in center? I don't get it. Whatever. Okay. I want to kind of do this. I want to clown on the Suns for drafting Jalen Smith. They just traded
running the Suns. Let's do it.
So, by the way, the Suns had Torrey Craig last year for like a vet minimum contract. And what they did to get him back this year was give up the number 10 overall pick and a second round pick for Torrey Craig. I mean, first of all, what the hell are you doing drafting Jalen Smith? No one drafts centers. No one should draft the center in the top 10 unless it's generational. And I don't know, like this doesn't look good if you're the Suns. I mean, I know you're the top of the West right now, but you're really you're giving up on number 10 overall pick in the second year. It's not looking good, you know, at least in that way, in that perspective.
Also, like the Suns kind of have no money. Like, you know, we talk about paying centers, but Ayton kind of got a bag, you know. Book's got a bag, CP's got a bag. It's just this is kind of it for the Suns. Like, well, unless they move off pieces, but they are making a couple of year push.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that whole Jalen Smith is like a disaster because they passed over Halliburton, you know, which sort of stuff. Because like Chris Paul is old, and like, you know, Halliburton would have been that perfect guy to, like, you know, carry that on after Chris Paul.
So would have been a great fit off the bench too.
Yeah, and like,
and I think you can play with them too. Like they can run 3 guard lineups.
Exactly, and that's just like a disastrous mistake, you know. But you know, the Suns have honestly missed on a lot of picks these past 10 years outside of Booker, so I'm not surprised. Outside of Booker and like,
hey, I'm not gonna lie, the Suns are not a good franchise. It's just, of course, they get CP3 and everything changes, you know.
Yeah, CP makes you an automatic top 3 seed. Like,
yeah,
facts.
You know, playoffs, but.
Okay, we might say this for another video, but do you guys think the Suns are legit title contenders?
Yeah, I'm gonna say, am I blown away by them? No, but they're absolutely title contenders out of the West if things go their way again. Like, obviously not to that extent where everyone gets hurt, but if I look at the West currently, if PG and Kawhi don't come back, that's big. If the Lakers don't get it together, which they won't, that's big. So you're taking out 2 big teams who are, you know, who should be there. So then you're really looking, are the Suns better than like the Jazz, the Nuggets, like those teams, the Mavs? I'd say yes, but I don't know. I don't think they're better than Golden State. Memphis, it's close. So I'd say this year, absolutely. I think they can get out of the West.
Yeah, I think the West is pretty wide open.
Mm-hmm.
So they could do it last year, you know, they can probably do it this year. To me, it's, you know, similar situation, you know.
I think the West is worse this year.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the Suns got better too. That's part of it. I definitely think they're a better team than they were last year. They got some confidence too.
Yeah, they have more experience, so.
All right. Yeah, we'll go more in depth with that in a future podcast.
Actually, we can talk about the West if you want.
Right now? Aren't we talking about trades?
Oh yeah, we can keep going. I know.
Do you guys want to keep clowning on the Celtics, or do you want to talk about Harold to the Hornets? Either one.
I mean, we can clown on the Celtics more. To be honest, like a lot of the other moves are not really game changers, you know.
All right.
Well, we didn't talk about the Clippers move, but it's fine.
Which one? Oh. Okay.
No,
No,
I'm
we
kidding.
can. We should go over. We should go over the Clippers move. It's a pretty big move. So,
All right.
Blazers trade Robert Covington, Norman Powell for Clippers. Get this, ladies and gentlemen. Eric Bledsoe, Justice Winslow, Keon Johnson, and a second-round pick for Robert Covington and Norman Powell. Like, are you serious right now?
I was shocked when I saw this. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, wow. I mean, I know the Blazers are rebuilding, but to move off Eric Bledsoe's awful contract and a player who we don't play in Winslow and Keon Johnson, who we also don't play, and we're able to get these two assets. And what's interesting too is Norman Powell's contract is he's tied down and he's making a good amount of money, but a player of Norman Powell's caliber, like he's our best player right now. He's been putting up amazing numbers right off the bat. And Covington, his contract expires this year, but I believe Batum's does too. And since they're both kind of that four-guard piece, I think we'll decide between the two of them this offseason. But I love this signing because the Clippers are a team that loves to go small late in games, especially with Kawhi and PG. And having Covington and Norman Powell, we could put Covington at that small five. And Powell just brings like that real three role to the team. So I loved the move for the Clippers. The Trailblazers definitely should have got more for these pieces, but
yeah. For me, okay, I think just getting Powell is good enough it's a robbery in itself for just getting Powell. But when you add Robert Covington on top of that, look, Covington isn't the same dude I would say he was like 4 or 5 years ago or 3 or 4 years ago. And he's still like a big wing, and everyone can use those. And getting off Eric Bledsoe's awful contract somehow for this, it's a good move. It's a robbery, and this just goes back into how mismanaged the Blazers are.
I will say though, the Clippers books are we're tied up for a few years. So next year is going to be the year for sure, because that's going to be the third year of Kawhi and PG's deal. But Norman's going to be there. But I mean, with Kennard and Morris, everyone's tied down. So I do think this is a championship roster who can make a run, especially in the current West, which is why I'm begging Kawhi and PG to come back. I don't think they will, but this is going to be the team they make a run with. I don't see.
Well, you go ahead, Alex.
No, I think Clippers. I mean, just from my point of view, at least, I think they could be the legit favorites out the West next year.
Yeah,
100%.
Just from they really nicely filled out the rest of this roster, and
right.
It's honestly, I would not rush Kawhi and PG this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think you should just rest them for next year. I think PG's done for the year. I mean, his elbow injury is usually a 9-month injury. So I don't expect him to be back anytime soon. And we all know Kawhi with his medical history, he might miss next year. He'd be taking years off over injury. So maybe the Clippers might have to make a run in 2024. So,
dude, they actually said that Kawhi is ahead of schedule and was set to return this year, but then that was before PG got hurt. So, no, you're right though. Kawhi would not rush it. Even if the Clippers snagged the 7th seed and Kawhi could come back, I don't think he would.
I'm not, dude. I think Kawhi. This is another topic for another day, but Kawhi is the most. He's such high maintenance, and he's a good player, but he demands a lot, And
he's not really high maintenance. It's just that
very high maintenance.
Takes
dude.
care of his his knees, especially. It's the one thing with him.
But it's a lot, There was an article that came out when the Clippers lost, or the Clippers players at the time, Harrell and Beverly were pissed off because Kawhi Leonard got to come to practice late and stuff and take himself out the games and practice and stuff like that, I don't know.
I will say that the thing with Kawhi though is he's very like you could use the word high maintenance, but it's not that he's not putting in work. It's just that he has people he trusts. Like he doesn't like team doctors. He likes his own doctor. He doesn't like team trainers. He likes his own trainer.
Yeah.
So he tends to like do things independently. Like even before games, he doesn't train with the Clippers staff. Like he has his own personal staff, you know. But also, I just think
very
that
high maintenance.
chemistry just didn't get along because like when you look at Lou and Trez and them, like they were guys who just play their hearts out, you know. I don't know if Kawhi and PG were those guys. They're superstars, you know. They're not going to gas out against the Rockets or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a couple other trades we can go over. Joe Ingles getting traded to the Blazers. Okay. Thunder. Oh, the Heat traded KZ Okpala for a second round pick. And I guess if we want to clown on the Rockets, I mean the Celtics, they gave away Dennis Schroeder for Daniel Tice's awful contract. And Harrell went to the Hornets. I don't know what that does, but
yeah, the Celtics are a walking headache.
Yep. I don't know what they're doing, honestly. They're just going to be like the Blazers, where they have like two elite players and they don't build the team around them correctly and are directionless and continuously the 7-8 seed and occasionally can make the second round. That's what they are.
Yeah.
I'm with it.
All right. So should we wrap things up then? Oh wait, or did you want to talk about this?
Don't worry, we have enough time all year for it. But I will ask you guys, what do you think of the West this year? Like, who do you think would come out of it? Favorites, busts?
Busts. Favorites. I'm gonna go with my top three right now. Probably Golden State, Memphis, and at 3 I got Dallas. I actually think Dallas can make a run at it this year, considering how wide open the West is. Yeah.
Well, I need to see if Jamal Murray comes back at relative like decent health, because I think the Nuggets can be in that mix if Murray's fine. I mean, it's hard to not say Golden State as the favorite right now. I mean, I just don't trust any of these other teams, but I wouldn't count out I'd probably have Phoenix, Memphis, and the Nuggets as those next couple teams. I think the Mavs, they just cannot rely on Luka only to carry them to the finals. I wouldn't consider them as a serious threat.
Oh, I will say with the Mavs though is like Luka in the playoffs is widely underrated. Like he played what a lot of people consider the best perimeter defensive team in the league. Both times he went to the playoffs, and they were like amazing series that the Clippers won. It almost feels a little bit like MJ Bad Boys, but I want to see what Luka can do without the Clippers there, because now he's going to draw a first round team that doesn't, where you're not dealing with PG, Kawhi, Marcus Morris, Batum, always on the wings. So, I mean, I wouldn't count out the Mavs because Luka is that guy, but I'm with you. I think the Warriors got to be the favorite. They got the best system. I like their coach. Clay's coming back. Wiggins is playing at an all-star level. I'd be surprised. I wouldn't count out the Suns like you said, but I think the
I'm counting out
Warriors.
the Suns. I'm definitely counting out the Suns.
They got Chris Paul, and that's all you need to know. Chris Paul, bro. Point guard.
I will give Chris Paul his credit. Like he doesn't perform that well in the playoffs. That's kind of what he's known for. But when they eliminated the injured Clippers, Chris Paul did have that ridiculous closeout game.
Wait, now, Alex, regarding like you can't rely on Luka to carry the playoffs. Like let's say instead they beat the Clippers in the first round, right? In the 7-game series. You don't think they would have made it to the finals from there on out? They would have played the Jazz, and then they probably played the Suns in the conference finals.
It would have been, yeah. Both teams were healthy, so healthy Jazz, healthy Suns.
I don't think so. Like I just don't see. I like Luka could do it for maybe one series, but he cannot carry that much of an offensive load, I think, for a whole postseason run. I just don't think that's plausible.
I will say
No.
I considered the Mavs being able to do that run, but Luka did not play that well in games 6 and 7 against the Clippers. Like he was just missing shots towards the end of games, like the second halves. So I do think Alex has a point. Like when you are carrying that load, like it takes a lot out of you.
Yeah, but they did add guys. Like Brunson's been a lot better. He got a lot better, and Dinwiddie too. So
Yeah, fact.
The X factor in that series though was I'm forgetting their name. It was when Hardaway and I don't think it was Brunson. I forget. Oh, Dorian Smith they were red hot from 3. Red hot. And as soon as they like reverted to the mean, the Clippers were able to take over.
Yeah, like they were low key all
That's
time
fair.
hot for the first
No,
5
they
minutes.
couldn't
No,
miss.
they were hitting threes for sure. They were hitting.
But as soon as I started missing, then Luka all of a sudden like the kick out wasn't there, you know.
I mean, to be fair, Reggie Jackson was also all time hot that series.
He was all time hot
yeah,
that whole playoff.
Reggie Jackson
Oh my goodness.
he had the season of his life last year, bro.
We almost went to the finals because of him. Like we lost like some stupid games to the Suns because like that Ayton lob. There was that terrible no call on Terrence Mann on I think game 4. Trust me, I memorized all of it. But yeah,
Dame
Jackson.
Reggie Lillard.
Reggie definitely reverted a little bit this year, but he's still kind of what he was. Like he's either gonna airball a clutch shot or he's gonna bang a clutch shot. Like there's no middle with him. There's no middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, Reggie can suck my ass. I hate him.
Why?
All right,
Why?
so
That's what the Fakers fans be feeling.
Hey, I want to hear what you got to say about Russ, man.
you want to go into it now?
It's your call. How long have we been on?
We can do a
I
quick
don't know.
preview.
Okay, we can talk about it a little bit. Look, we all know what's been going on with the Lakers. We didn't even mention him once during this entire podcast, but
Wait. We can go into slander next week, but I need you to admit everything you said before this year started. Like, I need you to, like, acknowledge it. I need to hear this.
Okay. I remember 2 things that I said.
I remember 4 things.
Okay. The first thing I remember was saying this is the most talented team in NBA history, which I don't think is ridiculous to say. You know?
Yeah, I don't think it's ridiculous.
Individual
In
talent.
terms of the skills, yeah, and in terms of skills,
I thought it was greatest team in NBA history.
No. I said most talented team in NBA history.
Okay,
I said it could potentially, but I did say most talented team. And I did say that my second thing was I did say that there may be a world where Russell Westbrook can win, can be a winning player.
Oh, nice wording. You said Russ would be an efficient third option.
Okay, sure. I don't exactly know what I said, but that's what it basically means too. Like you can be a winning player.
Pulling out all the receipts.
All right, what's the other two?
Oh, no. We got to stay on this Russ one. You said, I told you, I'm like, just by taking less shots does not mean you will be more efficient. And you were like, Russ will be efficient with LeBron and AD.
My idea for Russ was he would be able to play under control, but okay, there's a lot of things with West. There's a lot of reasons why Westbrook is about 50 to 60% of why the Lakers suck this season. One, he's been awful. He's just a bad player. And I'm not talking about his offense. Like, not just his offense. Like, we know he turns the ball over. We know he misses layups now. He misses layups now. And then also he can't do anything when he doesn't have the ball in his hands. He doesn't cut. The number one thing with him is how bad he is on the defensive end. He's literally quite possibly the worst defender in the NBA by a long shot. I saw a stat where I don't know how big the sample size is, but whenever the Lakers are on the court with him, the defensive rating is about 114.7, I think. That's about below league average. And look, the Lakers are below average team right now. But when he's off the court, the Lakers' defensive rating is a 96.5. which is by far the best defense in the league. And I don't know if that's sustainable because that's incredible defense. But
Okay. Let's not put all of this on Russ because like this dude cooked y'all with Russ.
Look, no. I'll explain why it's not. I'll explain why he's 50 to 60% of it, because it's not because of just how bad he is as a player. I went over how he's bad on defense and how he's bad on the offensive end, and how he just doesn't fail with these kind of players like LeBron and AD. But it's because of everything that we had to give up for him. This guy is taking $44 billion over cap space, and that leads to not having good role players. Look, we're relying on Avery Bradley, Stanley Johnson, and Austin Reeves to get it done for us to fill the role.
What about your savior? You forgot about him.
Who? Monk?
Trevor Ariza. That was the reason you guys were losing.
Look,
I'll never forget when you texted me that. Because
Okay,
Trevor Ariza. I mean, once he came, everything.
It's not
was fixed.
because it's not
3 points,
because
2
of
points a
Trevor.
game.
I'm not. Okay, let me be clear with what I was trying to say. It's not about Trevor Ariza per se, but it's more about the kind of player that he is, which is a 3-and-D wing that could ideally play defense on the best player. But he's far from that now. We don't have any of those guys because we invested so much into Russell Westbrook. So
What
it's
about
not
the
worth it.
sharpshooter, Wayne Ellington, the sniper.
He's not good. I don't know what else to say.
About balling like I'm Kendrick Nunn either.
Look, that's another story. He hasn't played the entire year. He's literally been a zero, and that's the only.
I can't get over it. Like Trevor Ariza, man. You were like,
that's the only play.
I texted you, and I'm like, why are the Lakers losing? And you're like, Trevor Ariza's not on the floor yet.
We just need those kind of players, And on top of, dude, the roster sucks because of us giving that kind of money for Westbrook, And when you have a big three, I don't even want to call it a big three, but when you're paying that much money to Russell Westbrook, like he's got to be able to be good enough where if your role players suck, it's okay, Like hypothetically, if we say like Kyrie's on the team, it's fine. We know that the role players can be below average if Kyrie Irving, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis are on the same team. But in reality, Russell Westbrook is quite possibly the worst starting point guard in the NBA. He's probably not even a top 100 player right now.
Okay, bro, but as much as you want to slander Westbrook, I feel like Anthony Davis deserves as much responsibility for the Lakers woes this season.
I won't say as much, but out the gate, he was legitimately awful. Like I couldn't even say he was a top 15, 20 player,
He's supposed to be a top 5 player by what they gave up and what people see him as in his talent. And he's been a total flake. Like he's legit been bad. Like he's not playing at an all-star level. Not to mention he's always hurt.
Can't shoot free throws anymore either. Or threes.
Yeah.
All he wants he's soft as hell. All he wants to do is shoot floaters. Like, bro, what are you doing? I've never seen someone so talented resort to floaters. Can you be any more soft?
Dude,
can you be any more
I'm not
soft?
denying that. I'm not denying any of that. And
when
all
Anthony
these things
Davis,
add up, it just leads to this kind of season,
Yeah.
And I'll give AD credit because he has been picking it up a little bit recently. No, he has.
No.
He got sunned by Giannis and was a no-show against the Blazers. But outside of those 2 games, when he played the Sixers, I thought he was clearly still better than Embiid. He fathered Embiid pretty hard there. And all the other games, I thought he was pretty good. But
okay, let's not act like that's an accomplishment, all right? Yeah. Clippers came back 25 against Embiid with Luke Kennard. So come on now.
Bro, all I gotta say is, you know how I know Anthony Davis is soft as hell? All this man don't want to do half the time is shoot fall away jumpers and floaters. Like, bro, can you do I don't understand. Where's the old Anthony Davis? Come on.
That's just who he is. I don't know.
This dude gets 1 championship and thinks he's the guy.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It's not even a real championship, too.
Okay, I wouldn't go that far. You're just saying that because you blew a 3-1 lead in the second round to the Nuggets. But look, AD's been awful. And I don't know what else to say. He's been lazy. I don't know if he's regressing or if he's lazy. I don't know what it is. He can't move that well anymore. It's kind of kind of sucks that LeBron has 1 year left after this year. He's probably going to leave to play Bronny, and this is the product you get. So,
if LeBron leaves, that is so dirty that he GM'd the Lakers with this terrible situation and then just leaves. Like, that would be dirty.
Yeah, and I do think LeBron deserves some of the blame, or a good amount. Like, not with his court, not with his play on the court, but with him wanting Russell Westbrook. That's probably the biggest disaster in his career, outside of what's that guy's name? West, Devontae. The guy that
Delonte West?
Yeah, that guy.
Delonte.
This is probably the biggest disaster outside of Delonte West. So, yeah.
I will say that this year I have made wonderful takes in every sport, and one of my best takes was that the Lakers won't be good. Like, I flat out said it. I did not buy into anything, and I honestly don't like the Russ slander though, because Russ to me is just a little. I knew he wasn't gonna fit, but like the ridicule isn't that like I'm more. He deserves it. Don't get me wrong, but I'm more on Alex. Like, AD was supposed to be the number one at this point in his career. Everyone agrees on that. LeBron, he's not trying to play 40 minutes a night. This was supposed to be AD's Lakers when LeBron leaves. You know what I mean? It was extremely clear. This guy, like, he hasn't even been here since the bubble. I think he's still at Disney World. Like, I don't even know what's going on. Like, I honestly think he deserves more of the blame. He can't stay healthy. He acts like he's 40 years old. He's scared to play.
I'm not going to say he deserves more blame than Russell Westbrook. I'm not going to go that far. No, he doesn't. But
Russ wasn't expected to be that guy, but AD was.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Bro, Disney is supposed to be like he's supposed to be.
Dude, like, at the end of the day, though,
top 5 in the world, bro.
At least we won a championship with Anthony Davis. Russell Westbrook is. We're not even going to make the playoffs. We're going to make the playing tournament with him, And
yeah, but it's like that was 1 year. Like, AD needs to be here by now.
Yeah. Like, you can't tell me if this is someone else. Like, let's say if this is Lillard, like, let's say that instead of like AD, they trade for like another like Lillard. Like, the Lakers be in a much better position right now for at least this season. You know what I mean?
Instead of AD.
Yeah.
Well, I can see that because if he's been hurt. But at the end of the day, I think the upside of Anthony Davis is better than Damian Lillard.
Oh, absolutely. If
AD, I don't know what it is. I don't know why he's been so lazy. He's been like that since the beginning of last season, and that led to him getting injured because he's never in like a ready stance. So he's always like standing up. So these little guards like clip him by the knee. And yeah, that's what happens. I don't know, man. I really don't know.
If AD comes back from Disney World like this year, the Lakers can absolutely make a run. Like, AD was arguably better than LeBron in the bubble. Like,
no, I threw in the towel already. This season's lost. We might make the playing tournament. We might make the first round, but
we're gonna have Clippers Lakers play in showdown.
Yeah, we'll see. I actually throw in the towel. This season's over. Look, Avery Bradley is, dude. I'll explain why Anthony Simons went off on against us because Avery Bradley was guarding him. Avery Bradley is actually awful. I hate him so much. He's so bad. And
okay, you can't expect a 38-year-old like past prime.
Yeah, that's
Bradley
the thing.
To be.
We have to get
a bunch of washed 38-year-olds and think it would work. Like,
we have to get Avery Bradley because we traded for Russell Westbrook. That's why I'm blaming Westbrook. We have these trash role players because we can't pay good ones.
The old play, you get a bunch of like retired NBA players and
also
LeBron.
I disagree with like the old thing because usually nowadays like we play a lot younger for sure.
No, yeah, I'm more talking about like the bubble, but the like that can work if you get a 4-month break in the middle. Like, I don't even mean that disrespectfully. Like,
okay, dude.
Look now,
the Lakers were clearly the best team in the NBA.
No,
the Heat were
3-1 versus the Clippers pre-bubble.
Okay, bro. I don't understand what that argument does because there's opening night, and it's. You really think that Clippers team is better than the Lakers team?
I'm sorry, 2-1. 2-1.
That Anthony Davis is better than Kawhi Leonard, bro.
No. But hear me out. If they met in a 7-game series, even if it was in the bubble, I genuinely think the Clippers would have won the series. Just
Okay,
because
but
of
you
the
can't
sheer
say
fact
that.
they don't lose to. I can't.
Yeah, you can't say.
I can't
They
say
lost the Nuggets. Like
I can't say that. I agree
can't
with you.
say that.
And that the loss is
You're just saying that
completely-
it's a fraudulent ring because the Clippers didn't they didn't play the Lakers. That's what you're saying.
No,
I think it's a more of a fraud.
I'm saying if there was no bubble, I don't think that. I think the
Okay,
Clippers
but dude,
could have made a run.
the Lakers were clearly the best team in the West at the time. Clearly.
Yeah, after a 4-month break, it's fair.
Yeah, but you also got to realize that year, like Kyrie, KD, so they took out a contender from the East. They took out the Nets and the Warriors. That was their off year, so it's also like a lot. That
Yeah,
year was
no,
also,
I'm not
wide
doubting
open.
that. I'm not
That
doubting
was
that.
supposed to be the Battle of LA year. I think the whole media knew that, especially without the Nets and Warriors, but we just didn't get it. And a huge part of it is the bubble, and unfortunately, Paul George, which he deserves all the slander in the world for. Especially Lou Will. Lou Will never came back from Magic City, Lemon Pepper Lou. Like he's still there right now, but
Well, I never thought Lou Will and Trez were like real needle movers to begin with. So I never really thought the Clippers were like, I mean, they're a contending team. Don't get it twisted. That bubble team, but I didn't think they were better than the Lakers by any means. Dude, the Lakers were the clear favorites, and they were by a long shot the first seed in the West. I don't think just because they got a bubble or they got a 4-month break, and I'm sure it does help, but dude, everyone got the 4-month break. You can't just say that the Lakers got the 4-month break, so it means that they got an advantage.
Oh no, I said it matters more to them because they're older and AD's injury.
Sure, it does, and I think there's a clear advantage for them in that sense. But like at the end of the day, I don't understand how you can say that the bubble has some fluke to it, and there is proof of that. There's Donovan Mitchell averaging like 48 points per game, and TJ Warren, I think, or whatever, and like that's fair. But if you're gonna say that it's not legitimate because the Lakers got a 4-month break, I just think that's invalid.
No, that's not what I'm saying. But I will say when TJ Warren turns into Kobe again, I'll give the Lakers credit.
No, bro, I disagree with that because everyone was.
I'm messing with you. But anyways, back to the Lakers. So the whole point I was making was that the Lakers are like older and injury prone. But I mean, just to circle back, like I honestly wanted to come on here and talk about AD because like I'm tired of the Russ slander. He is what he is, but AD's supposed to be that guy. He's supposed to be that guy.
I do agree with that though. He's been awful this year outside of like 5 games. But I'm still giving more blame to Russ than AD for sure because of everything we had to give up for Russell Westbrook. Anthony Davis has proven to be a winnable player, but it's basically impossible with Westbrook at this point.
No, straight up, if AD comes back, like he somehow just gets back to the way he was, Lakers can make.
I mean, dude, he was pretty damn good before the Milwaukee Bucks game.
Are you telling me that like AD, if he catches stride like the bubble, they can't upset the Suns?
Absolutely
they can.
I don't know, man. My thing is, I think this is a type of year where we just have to take it to the offseason because of all the drama with Russell Westbrook. And
I don't like LeBron's energy either, which is part of the reason. I'm agreeing with you. He seems over it. Like his post-game interviews, like you don't say that. He's like, "Oh, we'll never be to that level."
No. He's moving on to new things, bro. 4-0 as an All-Star draft captain, bro. Are we serious? All-Star legend.
How you whiff the Lakers draft, but you kill the All-Star draft every year? Like this dude cares so much about the All-Star.
I can't.
His roster management.
Dude, we have Malik Monk. We have Malik Monk on a minimum contract, and we're this bad.
Dude,
I don't know what else to say.
That's the Lakers' big 3 right there, though. Telling you, it's got to be like LeBron, Malik Monk, and like half of AD.
Oh, yeah, dude. It's been a rough season. The roster's awful. I hate Westbrook. Anthony Davis is ass. That's what it is. That's what it is. And our role players are ass too. On top of that, you know it's bad when the Lakers started Kent Bazemore and DeAndre Jordan with Russell Westbrook at one point. And
the worst was the Rondo one. What was it?
yeah,
Rondo
when they played
and
Rondo
Russell
and Westbrook.
Yeah. Anyways, we can start wrapping it up. But the Lakers, we know how we feel about them. We talked a little bit about the West and some trades. There were definitely some great moves. But next week we'll continue talking more about how we feel about with the NBA and some recent games, as well as covering the Super Bowl. So that should be fun.
All right,
Thank
Super
you
Bowl
guys
weekend.
all again
Bengals, baby.
listening. And then disclaimer, this is all fun. I have no hate for any athletes. Alex a little bit. No, I'm just kidding. But anyways, you want to say anything?
Except Westbrook. I'm just kidding.
I got one thing to say. Bengals beating the Rams this week. Yeah.
All right. This is what I'm gonna say. If the Rams don't pull it together this weekend, I'm actually gonna quit sports. The Rams are all I have at this point.
If the Rams cannot lose this game, they are
In SoFi?
It's such a mismatch. It is such a mismatch. You're playing an invisible offensive line with Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Leonard Floyd.
Yeah. On top of that, we play cover 2 all the time, and the Bengals only are they're too dependent on big plays, and that's what the Rams defense is built around. So that's beside the point. If the Rams don't win this weekend, I'm actually quitting sports. I'm done. I'm really done. I can't take this anymore. The Rams making it all the way. We finally beat the Niners after 3 years, and we don't make and we play the Bengals out of all teams, and we don't win the Super Bowl in SoFi. I'm done. Especially with all this Lakers crap going on. No, I'm done.
Wait, Alex, how are you rooting for the Bengals?
Hall of Fame troll right here. Hall of Fame troll.
You Steelers fan. What's going on here?
I'm trying to clown Isaac next week in that Super Bowl podcast.
Oh, me too.
Can't even lie.
All right, last thing I'm gonna say.
You heard it from me. You heard it from me. If the Rams lose, I'm not showing up. I'm just not gonna show up. That's what it's gonna happen. I'm just not showing up to the show. I'll take a week off. I need a week of therapy if that happens.
I mean, there's also a good shot McVay and Stafford don't show up this week too, so they're on the same path as you. So,
I mean, hey, if any team can lay an egg out of nowhere, it's the Rams. So, and they haven't laid one this playoffs, so we'll see. Anyways, last thing I will say, this might be our last podcast before Rodgers comes to Denver. So, you heard it here first. And anyways, thank you guys for listening. We'll cover the Super Bowl next week, and well, yeah, thank you for listening.